Hello and welcome. You're watching the SABC News Channel, independent and impartial. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. I'm Peter Ndoro and this is SA Today. In our top story, there's been a break-in at the Lyttleton military base in Centurion in Pretoria, where R4 rifles were stolen. To tell us a little bit more about this, we now speak to the spokesperson of the Department of Defence, Siphiwe Dlamini. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. This must be very, very concerning to you that a military base can be compromised in this way.
It is very concerning, Peter. I must agree with that assertion. It's concerning to us too that we could have such an incident taking place in a secure place like one of our bases in Pretoria. It's concerning indeed.
Do we know what happened yet, or are we still investigating?
Since yesterday, when the incident happened, we military police combing the area and doing preliminary investigations. We were there this morning again to follow up on what we started yesterday. For now, I can just safely say that we have taken in a number of people for questioning, and as the investigation develops, we will be certain where that investigation points us to.
I mean, you know, not to understate this, I mean, this is a national security issue. If the army cannot protect itself, how can they protect us?
Peter, it's a concern, as I say, to us too. More especially that the place is a high security area. And what is concerning is that it's no ordinary person that can walk into a base and identify what is stored, where is it stored, and how to access that place. So our investigation will indicate to whether this of such a deed were indeed externally or internally, and we are following up the lead. But it's people who would have the knowledge and know-how that would conduct such a thing in our base.
Beyond that, one would imagine that at an armory there would be at least someone stationed who's guarding that area.
Of course, Peter. It's a 24-hour security guarded facility, and that's why I'm saying to you, if you were to walk into any base, Peter, how would you identify that we are storing this kind of equipment in building at that area? You wouldn't. It's somebody who's knowledgeable who would be able to pinpoint such a building and be able to access such a facility in the manner in which they did, which I will not go into detail because the investigation is still going on. But our investigation will point us to the right direction because, as I say, we have taken in individuals for questioning since this morning.
What can you tell us about the nature of the equipment and the rifles that have been stolen? I mean, belonging to the army, this must be pretty high-grade stuff that in civilians' hands is extremely dangerous.
Peter, any ammunition, any arms in the hands of people that are not supposed to be carrying them is dangerous. And this is more concerning because these are assault rifles and they are used in our missions abroad and along the border, and it's really a concern that such equipment could be lost to the defense force, and highly dangerous weapons in the hands of people that are not supposed to carry such weapons. I mean, these are weapons of war we're talking about, and we view this in the most serious of light.
Do we know how many rifles have been stolen?
Peter, I can't speculate. The inventory is being conducted against what was stored and what is in our books and what is there that is has been identified as being missing. So we need to do an inventory versus the list of the equipment that was in that facility, and then we'll be able to determine what was stolen, how much of it was stolen.
What has the army been saying, particularly the base commander?
Part of the investigation, our military police who are responsible for ensuring that this is thoroughly investigated are busy with.
All right, it looks like we may have lost Mr. Dlamini there, but he
I'm
gave...
still here,
Oh,
I'm
okay,
still
you can
here,
hear
Peter.
us. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right,
Yeah.
so I suppose this investigation is ongoing. How long do you think it might take before you start to get a good picture of what might have happened and who was behind it?
Peter, we want to move fast and get over and done with it as quickly as possible so that we allay fears from any quarters that might be concerned, and we would want to recover the equipment that was taken away from the base as quickly as possible. I will be getting updates from the head of the military police, whom I've been in touch with, who's feeding me the latest information, and we hope that we should get over and done with this as soon as possible and people appear in front of our court.
Now, this isn't the first time that this has happened, where arms have been stolen in this manner. I mean, it happened again just outside Cape Town, and these assault rifles were then used in cash and transit heists. So it would appear that lessons are not being learnt about breaches before.
Well, there have been lessons learned, Peter. The incident, for instance, we are talking about in Cape Town, we were able to recover those weapons that were taken in Cape Town, and people have been through to court. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, are still going to court or have been sentenced. It's something that I need to verify.
Could this be pointing to systemic issues where, you know, normal checks and balances perhaps are a little lax over time because nothing has happened for some time?
Peter, I don't think so. I think what we should be looking at is why is it that such a thing is happening in our bases, and in particular, who is behind it? Is it an internal problem or is it externally? And then thereafter we are able to say, this is where the challenge is and this is how we're going to deal with it. So we need to find the reason behind and the people behind it and why they did such a thing. And if it's our own members, we would need to determine what is it that led them to commit such a deed. But we need to cover all the bases, Peter.
All right. So I would imagine that given what you've said, access to the facility, knowing exactly where what was and when it was safe to go in and leave undetected, would suggest perhaps that it's somebody either inside the army who has very intimate knowledge given to them by somebody inside the army.
I wouldn't. We're looking at all possibilities, and that is part of the investigation.
All right, okay. That's where we'll leave it. But thank you so much indeed, Mr. Dlamini, who's the spokesperson of the South African National Defence Force, the Department of Defence, saying that the investigation